Okay, so let's see here. Let me just make sure. Okay, yeah. I want to show you on, I posted on Moodle. Sign in. On course. I noticed for some reason my Moodle page has dropped some of my courses, but so if you can't find your courses, then they'll be in the past, which is weird because they're still in progress, but whatever. Not ours though. So down at the very bottom, blah, 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 blah. Here I posted 3 sets of practice exams with solutions. So what I want to do today is just go through and give you a run through of the format to expect, right? So what types of questions. So what I usually do, right, is just tell you what types of questions to expect. Of course, these are paper exams, which we're not going to be able to do. So I want to talk about that a little bit, but let's get into our notes here. So, oh, it's okay. Okay, yeah. All right. So, our exam is still going to be in the scheduled time, and shoot, I can't remember exactly when it was. Let me just look it up here. It was on the 23rd. Oh, I guess it's on the room. It's somehow lost in my phone. I can't find it. Yeah, so the 23rd from 6 to 9, which that's going to be tough for me because that's 9 to midnight here, but that's okay. So of course we're not meeting in person, and the test weight is like going to be slightly different. So I'll update, or I'll remind you of what that is. But so it's on April 23rd from 6 to 9. So that is when we'll have our exam time, because we've been told that we should keep our exams the way they are, because then we don't have any conflicts. And so we'll just start here. We've got our final exam review today. It will be pretty brief, but just nice to get it kind of underway. Sorry, my hand just is so sore. So we've got our final exam is on April 23rd. From 6 to 9. Okay. So just like for the test that you did on Tuesday, which we're just marking now, so you'll get an email from Gradescope when they're marked. So I will be available for questions in the Zoom room. During the exam. Oops. Okay. So if you have any questions, then that's where I'll be. Underline it. Okay. So how it's going to go is we're going to set up and we're going to try to follow this outline that I'm about to give you pretty closely, right? Or as closely as we can, just so that we can say, okay, well, they had the same kind of test that everyone else had. Obviously not the same questions, but same idea, right? And as you work through those practice tests, you'll see the pattern, right? So the outline that I'm giving you, it'll be the same for all those practice tests. So you should be pretty familiar with all these types of problems. You are working at home, right? And so I am expecting you to use your resources for this, right? And so You may not work together because it's very obvious. And we do have to report that to the dean's office if we do find that there's cheating going on. So, but you are expected to use your notes, use your whatever kind of cheat sheets you've made, right? You're working at home. I mean, check your work on the internet. I don't care, because you still have to show all your work, right? And so, so how it's gonna go is the exam will be in WebAssign, right? But what we want to do is we want to split. So we want you to show your work on a piece of paper and upload that to Gradescope. But what's nice about WebAssign is that you all get different versions of the test, or different numbers at least, right? And so the exam will be on WebAssign. And like I've said so many times now, contact me if you don't have WebAssign for whatever reason, right? And but so far I've only had one person, and we got that all sorted out. So I'm assuming that's not a problem. So the exam will be on WebAssign, and you will do your work on paper and upload your work as a PDF, and upload your work as a PDF. So just like you did for test 4, as a PDF to Gradescope. Okay. And then you'll indicate where all your where all your work is for all your questions, and then so the marks will be split between showing your work, so actually looking at your work, and your WebAssign marks. So the marks will come from WebAssign, and the work you submit. Right, which means that if you get something wrong on WebAssign, but your procedure was good, right, then you can retain some of those part marks as you would in a written exam. So this is what we've landed on as being kind of the most fair to you guys, because this is a tricky time, right? So that's what we've decided. Just as a reminder, so labs, so the new grade distribution, labs are 15%, assignments are 20%, and I extended those due dates. I think they're due today though, because it's the last day of classes. And to be honest, I'm usually pretty sad on the last day of classes because it means I don't get to see you guys anymore. But I'm just so glad that this term is done. It's been such a weird end of the term. So yeah, can't wait. So tests are 40%, so 10% each, of course, and then the final is now worth 25%. So it's worth quite a bit less than it was before. But remember, I opened up the assignments, so I am actually expecting everyone to have a good chunk of this 20%, right? And of course the labs, I'll get your lab grades from your lab instructors. I only have, I think only Doug, yeah, Doug is the only one who sent me his lab grades, and there were only like 3 of my students in there. So still waiting on a lot of lab grades. And once I have all of those, then I'll post them on Moodle. But you should know what your lab grade is, and you should be able to figure out where you're standing. So if any of this is a concern, and I mean, like, we already did the test kind of the same way, it might be the WebAssign aspect, then you need to get in touch with me. And I know I'll just check to see who's all here, but I'm pretty sure that you guys are all set up, right? So I haven't looked too closely, or I haven't investigated who's set up on WebAssign, but if you need WebAssign still, then you have to get in touch with me. It's fine, we'll get it sorted out, don't worry. Okay, so let me see, I should go back there and check to see if there's any questions. Any questions here? I don't see any. So let me just, hello. My dog's got a subtle whimper going on because I'm ignoring her. Of course. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so I think this is pretty fair. So it's not just your WebAssign grade, it's also the work that you submit. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. If you send them to everyone, they'll pop up on my second screen here. Otherwise, I might miss them because I can't see if you just send it to me. All right, so I didn't see any questions. So what I want to do today is just go through the types of questions to expect. But like I said, right, on Moodle, in case you weren't here in the beginning, I posted 3 practice exams with solutions. And so you'll see the pattern of all these questions, and you'll have lots of practice problems. So I'm not going to spend time because we wouldn't be able to get through a whole exam anyways. So so I'll just leave those to you, but I want to do so final exam question breakdown, let's call it. So we're going to start with some short answer problems. The short answer section starts with two small limits. Okay, there's going to be more limits, but for the short answer, and what you'll see in that practice test is there, you can go up there. Sorry, just appeasing the dog. There. Okay, so 2 small limits, and then what you'll see is there's going to be some bigger limits as well. There's going to be 2 questions where if you are given a limit, then you have to tell me if there's a vertical asymptote or a horizontal asymptote, or neither. So here, what I'll say is, and you'll see what I mean when you have a look at those practice tests. In fact, I'm going to put a note here. Actually, I have posted 3 practice finals on Moodle with solutions. Okay. So if there's anything that doesn't make sense, you will be able to find it in one of the practice finals. In fact, I only flipped through the first practice final, it has the exact same layout as the final that we're looking at, and that we're going to be kind of mimicking in WebAssign. So given a limit, given a limit, state if there is a vertical or horizontal asymptote, or none, right? That's an option too. There's going to be one small equation of a tangent line, because what you'll find later is that we're going to do a long answer where you also have to find the equation of the tangent line, and we did that on a test, right? And so one small equation of a tangent line, or of the tangent line, I guess. Yeah. And then there's one where if you're given the velocity function, or given a velocity function, find the acceleration function, right? That's just the first derivative of the velocity, right? So we're used to having the displacement function, then the first derivative is the velocity, and then the second derivative is the acceleration. But if you have the velocity, then of course you just take the derivative of that, and then you've got the acceleration function. So given a velocity function, find the acceleration function. And then there's three what I would call definitions. And so it either uses a definition and gets you to, pick the right answer, or it gives you some definition and you have to tell me what it is, right? And so either use a definition or give the term, right? The term of the definition. And again, you'll see what I mean once you have a look at those practices. So these short answers, I mean, they're kind of variable, right? So these are not really money makers. If I was writing this test, I would focus on long answers, which we're going to go through next, and then just kind of plow through these if you're short on time, right? And so what you'll find is that just from the list of questions, you do have 3 hours, right? But I would say you do want to keep your pace up a little bit, right? You are working at home, so you have all these resources, but part of the trouble with working at home and having, things like definitions that you can look up, I worry that it might take you longer, right? Because you might feel like, oh, well, I have it here somewhere. I just need to find it, right? So I would probably go through the long answer questions first. I mean, it's completely up to you, but because that's where all the marks are, right? Or most of the marks are. So for these short answers, I would call them kind of inconsequential, right? There's a couple of multiple choice ones, so it's not really a lot of work in these ones. So then for the long answer, so here's where I would focus my attention. Long answer. You're going to start by doing 3 limits, right? Without L'Hopital's rule. Without L'Hopital's rule. And so you may not use L'Hopital's rule. If you have an indeterminate limit, then of course you can check your answer. You can check it with L'Hopital's rule, but you have to show all your work without L'Hopital's rule, right? And so we've got tricks up our sleeves, right? We can divide by the highest power in the denominator, for example. We can, I don't know, there's lots of things that we can do. If we've got a square root or a conjugate, there's lots of things that we can do. And we talked about those at the beginning-ish of chapter 2, or kind of in chapter 2. So have a look at those, and you've seen those on a test too. I can't remember if it was, I think it was test 2, even though I meant it as test as well, but test 2 works. Then there's 1 limit with L'Hopital's rule. I know, wouldn't it be fun if there were more? Okay. Then there's going to be 1 where if you're given a piecewise function with variables a and b, right, you have to find a and b that make it continuous and differentiable. So given a piecewise function, find a and b to make it continuous and differentiable. Then there's going to be 1 where you have to use the limit definition to find the derivative. So use the limit definition of a derivative to find the derivative, of course, which we have also done on a test. Then there's going to be 4 just plain derivatives, right? So of course, applying all your rules, probably product rule, quotient rule, chain rule, all that fun stuff. And so find the derivative. Oops. Find the derivative then there's going to be 1, and so remember there's an equation of the tangent line here in the short answer, a small equation for the tangent line. Now here's where the big one is, right? And so and we've done 1 and it used implicit differentiation, right? Tangent. And so 1 equation of the tangent line, All right, so it's going to be a little bit bigger. There's going to be 1 logarithmic differentiation. So it will ask you to use logarithmic differentiation, right? Remember, you're only going to use it if you're asked to, right? Or if you've got a variable in both the base and the power, then you have to use logarithmic differentiation. And so there's 1 logarithmic differentiation, can't spell. Well, that's not really new, is it? Right, and so, and I'm pretty sure these guys were all on the same test, probably test 3, I want to say. And I think the related rates was on there too. So then there's 1 related rates problem. Related rates can be tricky, right? So make sure that you practice those. And then there's 1 displacement problem. displacement problem, right? Find the velocity when the particle is at rest, etc. Right. So one of those problems, which you also saw, I want to say that all of these were on the same test. Let me just look down here. Yeah, so I want to say that all of these were on test 3. So you have seen these all before. In fact, because we were able to squeeze on optimization onto test 4, you have seen all of these questions or all these types of questions on a test before. So I think that's really nice, because then you can use that to study. One displacement function. Oh yeah, and then find, so one, where you're going to find where a function has horizontal tangent lines. So find where a function has horizontal tangent lines. So you're given a function and you're asked to find where it has horizontal tangent lines, right? Remember, that's if you've got some sort of function like this, right? Here's a horizontal tangent line at this point, and well, the way I drew it at this point, but also at this point, right? Where the derivative is 0. There's going to be one linear approximation question. Linear approximation. We did that. I don't remember if we did horizontal tangent lines on test 3, but I think the linear approximation was on test 3, but maybe they're all running together. You've got them all anyways. And remember, if you don't have your test 3, right, then you can, it's on Gradescope with all your feedback and stuff, right? So even though we didn't get a chance to hand it back, right, in person, you've got test 3, and then once test 4 is marked, you'll have test 4 as well. You'll get an email from Gradescope. Then there's going to be one question where you have to use the intermediate value theorem, use IVT to show that there are solutions, right? To show there is a solution. There is a solution. And then in the next part, you're going to use the mean value theorem or Rolle's theorem, whichever you prefer, or Rolle's theorem, to prove that there is only one solution. That there is only one solution. And we did that on this most recent test. But also there's lots of practice in those practice finals. So the next one is also from test 4. So given a function f of x, f prime of x, and the second derivative, f double prime of x, find the intervals of increase and decrease. Intervals of increase and decrease. Local max and min. Intervals of concavity. Right, concave up or down. And inflection points. So on the practice finals, question number 15 Question number 15 is on sketching. But we cut this section. You can still do this problem, right? So it will not be on the final. I think it would be really good to use it to practice, but use it to practice. Because you have all the tools, right? It's just putting it all together to construct the sketch. It's nothing crazy. And then the last problem is an optimization problem. Oops, optimization problem, which is that last section that we did. And I would say it's pretty fun, but it's a little bit tricky because you have to figure out what the equation is. So you'll want to go through and do a lot of practice problems, but once you get the hang of it, it's really not that bad. Okay. No, that didn't take nearly as long as I thought it would be or would, but there's our list. Any questions? We'll go back and check the chat here. No questions. Who's all here? Nice. Hey guys. Well, I'm afraid that's all I have. So if you don't have any questions, that's all I've got. I can't believe it. I really thought running you guys through all that would take longer. Oh well. I'm seeing no questions. Give you guys some time. Think of some questions maybe. So like I said, if you're worried about WebAssign, right? If you don't have WebAssign or whatever, then get in touch with me right away. And then, yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, you bet. Da-da-da-da. Long answer. There. Any other questions? These are the types of days that I'm glad I didn't make you show up for 8 a.m. just to keep you for 35 minutes. That's crazy. I'm gonna go back and see if there are any other questions here. Okay, I don't see any. Final call for questions. Otherwise, we're all done. And I know it's usually sad, but this term, I don't know, it's been so weird. No questions, not a one. Go back here. All right. Well, so our final is not until the 23rd. So just get in touch with me. I know you're probably working on other stuff until then, right? So closer to, I can set up, office hours on Zoom or whatever. So if you have questions, then let me know. But otherwise, yeah, it's been a pleasure. And hopefully I'll see you guys in September when all this is over. Or if you're graduating, congratulations, and I won't see you in September. All right. No questions for me? Then I'm booting you guys out of here. See you later.